Kevin, am I unemployed tonight?
Yes, you are.
You waited for you to count to 4.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock on 5/18/2017. I'll call this meeting.
5/8, not 18.
Yes. Call to order the meeting of the Millbury Development Review Board. I'll briefly go over the agenda, the business agenda first. We have 3 items. The first is an application by Eric and Jennifer Bleich for a conditional use review for a setback waiver at 42 Woodland Park. The second is an application by Eric Heider for a subdivision on Munger Street. And the third is an application by Turning Point Center for a preliminary review of a conditional use at on Route 7 South in the Protected Highway District. Okay, if anybody plans to testify tonight, make sure that you sign in on the sheet. Okay. Are there any communications from the public on any item not on the agenda tonight? Hearing none. First item will be the approval of minutes of 4/24/2017. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved and second. Questions, comments, changes? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aren't we still behind a set of minutes?
No, I don't
We
think
got
so.
No, we
Caught up last week.
We did? Yeah.
Okay, to the business. Item number 1, an application by Eric and Jennifer Bleich for a conditional use review of a request for a rear setback waiver to construct a covered porch on the rear of their house. This property is located at 42 Woodland Park in the high-density residential district. Okay, would you like to come up? And I hope I pronounced your name right.
Closer than most. Yeah.
Yes. Before we ask questions, I have an oath. I affirm that the evidence and information I am giving in this proceeding is true and accurate to the best of my knowledge and belief.
I do.
Thank you. Okay. Would you like to briefly tell us what your plan is?
Yes, we'd like to build a screen porch on the back of our house. We have a very small lot, so it's the place that's logical to put it. It's off of our dining room. It's over an existing patio. There's a sliding door out there. It is within the setback limits. It's about 22 feet on one corner and 20 feet on the other corner. It's a simple screen porch over an existing patio where we sit outside anyway. Is there any other information that you need? Oh, yeah, we talked to all the neighbors. It's all fine with all of them. Oh, yeah, and there's, yeah, it's a good thing I have my wife here. Right behind, there's a fence, about a 6-foot fence, and some cedar trees that block the connection between our back door, our backyard neighbor.
There's a photograph, or there are a couple of photographs in the material we sent that show that. I don't know if you have them, but.
Yep,
okay,
we do.
okay.
Helen,
Yes.
I personally visited the site, so I happen to have met the applicant, so.
Okay. So the request is for a 5-foot waiver, is that correct?
Yes.
I have a question.
Rick?
Does the fence belong to you or the Georges?
The Georges.
And the trees that are there?
They're also the Georges.
Those are,
Yeah.
okay. So they're not going to interfere with your structure at
Not
all?
at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
I went by there and I looked, and I
Yeah.
mean, there
Yeah.
seems to be.
There's good clearance.
Yeah.
Most of those trees are over on his side now. They're not on
They've
Dean's
sprouted.
side.
Hanging branches, I would.
Yeah.
I think the base of the tree is the property line.
Yeah, okay.
Does the, does the patio as shown here approximate the footprint of the use, or is it longer?
It comes about a foot further
Further
out,
away from the
a little
face.
less than a foot further out.
Thank you.
That tree that was there is gone already, but
The
Chris
tree in
Zeoli-
the image?
Chris Zeoli removed the tree last week.
You're talking about that tree
The linden,
next to the patio?
yes, not the cedars, but the
Yeah,
linden.
because that was going to damage your new porch.
Well,
roof.
no, it was a messy tree that blocked all the light from our son's bedroom anyway. So we moved in less than a year ago, and we wanted to wait a year to see how the light worked at different times of the year. And with the cedars, which also block a lot of light, we needed to have a little more light in his bedroom.
You won't be adding any new exterior lighting?
No.
Okay. Any other questions from the board this time? Are there any comments from the public at this time? Okay. All right,
A motion in order.
motion is in order.
I move that the Middlebury Development Review Board, having reviewed the application submitted, and having heard and duly considered the testimony presented at the public hearing on May 8, 2017, approve this conditional use request for a rear setback waiver of 5 feet to construct a covered porch at 42 Woodland Park.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? One abstaining.
I'm an alternate, so I can't vote. I would vote for it,
Okay,
but I can't.
motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's your time.
You abstain? Did you abstain?
No, I
Oh,
voted for the.
oh, okay. I thought I heard him say abstain.
Well, you are safety positive.
Okay, the next business item is an application by Eric Heider for a preliminary review of a subdivision application for a two-lot subdivision. Property is located at 494 South Mugger Street in the AR district. Okay. You are Eric?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to briefly describe what you are planning to do?
It's just a single house subdivision from a piece of land that my father and my uncle currently own. 2 to 3 acres.
Okay.
I guess my question would be at Jen, if I could.
Sure.
Now, in the ag district, there's currently 95 acres, and they want to subdivide 2 subdivisions, correct? How many are they allowed? Can they come back in a year from now and do another subdivision?
I don't remember how many they have after this. I think this is the last one. I don't remember. I'd have to recheck that. So this one's okay, but I don't have a. Do you remember how many they have after
I
this?
was not aware, if this is the last one, I wasn't aware of that, actually.
So
Okay.
This is the last subdivision that property can undergo?
I don't know. I don't know that question.
No, but I mean, is that what we're?
Yeah, that's what we're discussing.
Okay.
So they're basically a 2-lot subdivision. Does that mean that that's it? They can't come back in a year from now and do another subdivision?
So what he's asking is, in the ag rural district, you have to go back to the parcel maps from 1981.
Right.
You need to look at the parent parcel at that time, and then take the acreage of that parent parcel, look it up on a chart, and they'll tell you how many lots you can have, house lots you can have out of that in the whole life of that parent parcel. And so I don't remember how many they have after this, if this is the last one, if they're at their threshold, or if there's more in the future.
I'll admit I was not aware of that at all, and that would certainly be something that I'd like to figure out.
But you only
Would
have
it-
one brother, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Wouldn't it be nice to know whether this would end your subdivision?
Yes, I honestly didn't realize that was a thing. I've kind of relied on my engineer to do a majority of the research for me. He couldn't be here tonight, but I was not aware of that.
But even if we approve it, Eric and his father don't have to go ahead if they decide that whatever Jennifer and Victor find out is detrimental to their future.
Okay, but there's two different owners here. Is he
I
representing
think we
his
can
father?
figure it out while we're sitting here.
Is he representing his father, or is he representing his brother? His uncle?
Uncle.
Both, I think.
Both. They both currently own the land right now.
They both agreed with a two-lot subdivision?
Yes.
And if Jennifer tells you that that's it, there's no more after that, you're okay with that?
Have to think about it, I guess.
Yeah, I think you might want to.
Yeah.
But it's a preliminary review, so
Yeah,
they don't have to come back if they
Yeah.
don't want to.
Yeah.
correct.
It'd be nice to have him ask all the right questions so that he would know where he stands. Because I recall, there was already a previous subdivision there.
Right.
That would be where my father's house
Right.
is. Yes.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah, if you only have one left, you may want to split it in half instead of
Yeah.
just 2 acres.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to just proceed discussing the merits of the application, and I'll weigh in with that a little later on?
Okay, sure.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Other questions?
I had a question about where you're gonna locate your driveway. I went out there and there's like a dip and then you start up a hill and your proposed lot is obviously on the west side of South Munger, and how are you gonna access that lot?
Right at the crest of the hill, there's two stakes 40 feet apart, and that is actually already been approved by Dan Warner at the town as the
Okay.
entrance for the driveway.
Okay, because there was some
Have that
concern about that, about citing whatever traffic's on
Right,
that road.
and that's
and it-
basically, that's the best possible place that we could have put the driveway to see in both directions as you're pulling out.
Okay,
So,
good, all right.
And the house will be a little further north than the
correct.
driveway.
Yes.
Eric, on the map, it shows that the town water supply goes, according to the map, it goes across the property, but it looks like you want to drill a well. Is it not there for you to hook onto, or?
It's currently maxed out. My father was the last tap right, and
Okay.
I'm sure all the neighbors would agree that the size of the line can't really handle another home on it, so I'm just gonna drill a well and forego
Gotcha.
all that complication, yep.
Okay.
Other questions?
Is there a pond or something just north of that on the low?
There is,
low-
there's a pond at the bottom of the hill, and that's part of the lot that I want to subdivide, that's part of the lot.
Okay, that's included in the 2 acres that?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
It's an existing pond that my grandfather actually dug years ago for cattle.
Mhm.
So I had some thoughts of maybe improving that area to make it a little bit, nicer.
A little more.
Grandfather, great-grandfather?
Grandfather is the one that,
Dig the pond?
he hired it, yeah, dug,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Other questions from the board at this time?
Just looking at your proposed, and on the second lot, there's this mound system easement. Whose easement is that?
It's the easement for my septic on my father's 10 acres. That was where it perked.
So, okay. So your septic system is gonna be on lot number 2.
On your father's lot.
On my father's lot.
Okay.
Lot number 2.
Lot 2
Right,
is in
yes.
3 acres.
Okay.
Anything else at this time on the board? Are there any comments from the public at this time? Hearing none? I guess we'll,
Jen went to get the map.
okay.
Like to see it.
Kevin, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
I noticed that you had cut down some trees. Are there gonna be any more that are gonna be cut down?
Yeah, there's still quite a few trees standing where the house is actually gonna go. A lot of what was cut was actually prior wind damage that was blown over and broken off. So in the last couple years, we've gone in there and started kind of cleaning everything up. But there will be more trees cut where the actual house is gonna be.
Will there still be some trees
There will still
for
be
the house you're
There will be
proposed on?
some trees, but because of the lot is basically all ledge, and so my thought was there's going to be quite a bit of filling and grading involved to
Yeah.
make my lawn and everything. So if I was going to cut a majority of the trees that are there, and then plant new trees back, kind of where it makes sense to have them instead of close to the house.
Presumably you'll have plans about that to submit when you have your house plans.
Yes.
So this box here is the proposed residence, and that's the bedroom.
Do you have any idea what the total acreage of the whole lot was to begin with? The whole,
The parcel that's being subdivided,
yeah, well, that plus your father's,
my
Yeah.
father's is just a hair over 10. It's like 10.2 or 10.3.
okay.
And then,
And so the original lot was your father's, the one that you want to subdivide, and lot 2? Is there
no,
more than that to it? The original?
yeah. The
I was trying to make it simple, but I
The
guess-
original 100-plus acres, when my father built there, back when it was 10-acre zoning, he subdivided the minimum that he had to have, which is
Right.
just over 10. So that left 96.3, I think, is what's there now, and then I'm subdividing 2 to 3 acres from that
Okay,
96.
so originally, it sounds like it was 106 acres.
Yes.
Okay.
And the surveyors were there last week, and they have everything marked out, but I haven't heard back from them on exactly what the acreage ended up being, but I know it's somewhere between 2 and 3. for the new
Okay,
lot.
well, if it were 106 acres to begin with,
You took 10 off for,
you took one off, so it looks to me, according to this chart, it says there would be 6. The maximum number of home sites would be 6. And if there's one gone, and yours would be the second, that would leave 4. The way I see it, but I guess we got.
what would the minimum acreage be?
Yeah. Isn't the ag certain?
Well,
Like
it is, but it depends on the, whether it's town water and sewer.
Right.
So, well and on-site septic, because it's 2 acre.
Why bother? Are you still trying to figure that out?
Yes,
You
well,
guys are killing me. There's 4 house lots left after,
Yeah,
after
okay.
Eric's done.
Yeah, you're right. So he just
But he
came up with that.
We just figured that
That's what
out.
I was doing upstairs. What a waste of your time. All right, in the future.
So you still have something.
So
That's
then
good.
we're good to go as far as
okay,
that's concerned.
all right. So, are there any other questions from the board at this time? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that the Middlebury Development Review Board, having reviewed the application submitted and having heard and duly considered the testimony presented at the public hearing of May 8th, 2017, approve this request for preliminary subdivision approval to create a 2 to 3 acre lot at 494 South Munger Street, subject to the recommendations in the sketch plan determination dated May 8th, 2017.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Is there discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes, thank you.
Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I tell you that?
He does remember, but he can't remember.
We didn't, I don't know that there was anything here that was...
So,
I got it.
the next application, or the next business item, is an application by Turning Point Center for a preliminary review of a conditional use application to establish a recovery residence. The proposed location is the Greystone Motel located at 1395 Route 7 South in the Protected Highway District. And, for all those who would like to testify, I give the oath. I affirm that the evidence and information I am giving in this proceeding is true and accurate to the best of my knowledge and belief. Okay.
So again, this is a little different. Preliminary opinion.
So the last one that you did was a preliminary for a subdivision review. And now this is a preliminary for a conditional use review.
Would you like to,
Sure. I'm Bill Brem. I'm director of the Turning Point Center. Been there approximately 5 years now. Middlebury and Addison County in general currently does not have a place for folks to come back to that are coming out of treatment, out of Department of Corrections, or are just getting into recovery that is safe.
This is like everything else.
And what I mean by safe is no drugs and alcohol are being used. A lot of times what happens, folks will go back to their same surroundings. They'll go to treatment. They'll go to their same surroundings where everybody's still using drugs or using alcohol and stuff, and they go right back to their same habits, after a little bit. Subsequently, they return back to the emergency rooms. They return back to either using or dealing to support their habits, and then they return back to treatment again. So it's like a revolving door. I've talked with numerous people that have been through treatment. You can count them more on 2 hands, how many times they've been. And the issue is the fact that people do not have a safe place to come back to in the essence of a housing. And then also with Department of Corrections, we have folks in Department of Corrections that don't have a place to come to. They're in recovery from drugs and alcohol, but they can't get released out of Marble Valley until they have a safe place to return to. And then if they max out, and Chief could tell more than I can, but when they max out, they can be put back onto the street again, and then they end back up into the same system. These are folks from here, you know, they're not folks from everywhere else. And I've been, you know, working on this behind the scenes and also publicly lately to try to get a place that's safe. It'll be for men only, starting out, and down the road we definitely need a place for women. But to start out would be men. So my idea is, or the fact is that whenever you put a family together, yes, we've got a woman and her child and a husband, or you know, longtime boyfriend. You get a place that's safe for the child and the wife, but the men come out and they have to stay in places that are not safe. You know, that have drugs still going on real regular, and all that stuff. So to try to put this family back together, it just does not work, because the husband cannot get clean, or so it's like a revolving door. And most other locations around, Rutland has places, Burlington have places, Addison County doesn't have anything. And also, I'd like to see, you know, a lot of people have, you know, preconceived ideas that these are places where drugs are just handed out and drug dealing in the parking lot and stuff like that. And that's not too far from the truth sometimes. I keep an eye on what's going on down south, only because I know somebody, I follow their blog, is an investigator for recovery homes and what's going on. And there's a lot of bad actors out there running recovery homes. A person can open up a recovery home in a subdivision, and if they follow the federal law, there's not a whole lot of stuff that, you know, because it's hard to discriminate against a mental health issue. They're addicted to drugs or alcohol, and that's considered a mental health issue. So if we can do something right the first time, and hopefully try to keep the bad actors out of the, you know, subdivisions or opening up homes. They can take a 4-bedroom house and have 8 people in it, and it would be like a sober home. And that's not the way I want this to be operated. This would be, if I was able to give you some information on it. We're in the middle of working with an organization called GNAR, National Association of Recovery Residents. They have guidelines that you follow to be a part of that association, and it's nationwide. Right now, there's legislation called, and I don't know if it's going to make it past before the January, but it's on the floor anyway, to make GNAR a part of the state, a voluntary organization. But with that comes organizations like DOC, anything that is state-funded, housing and stuff. Our people that are released from treatment would go to a NAR-affiliated home, with the whole idea of changing the stigma attached to recovery residences and also having oversight. The state of Vermont does not have any oversight on recovery homes at all. And I even called them. I said, do I have to get any kind of certificate from the state? There is nothing, you know. So that being said, anybody, like I said, with a 4-bedroom house or that can handle 8 people can open up a recovery home. The Greystone property became available, and it's been available for a while, but I went down and looked at it, and it's been a lot of work already done on it. Apparently, the new bathrooms and everything have been put into it. It's a really nice location. It's a little bit away from the town, but it's in distance to where a lot of the needs are. You know, the state buildings down that way, Hannaford's, the bus stops right there in Paris's parking lot, Paris Hardware's parking lot. So, and there would be strict rules to be staying. It would be considered a program, 4 to 6 months that a person would stay there. Going to be going to recovery group meetings. They have to look for jobs. They have to get vocational training. This is part of the program of being in that residence. And the on-site supervision would be recovery coaches, people that have been trained as a recovery coach here in Vermont. And oversight would be administrative oversight. And also that for me, it's got to be a collaborative between organizations here already in the community. I already work real closely with almost all of them. I'm at all their meetings, and I add a lot to the meetings. We talk about recovery all the time. I'm part of the Housing Coalition. We talk about the housing issues and the stock available, units available for folks. And these folks, verbally and some of them with letters, are definitely on my side with this. So I come to you to see if I've got people that possibly are going to help with funding some of this. And that being said, I can't very well ask them for anything until I know that we got a place that we can put it. And that's what I'm working on right now.
Okay. I think it goes without saying that all of us on this board appreciate what you're trying to do, and we all understand that it's a critical need. What we're going to try to decide tonight is whether it fits into the zoning regulations and the laws that we have.
The owner of the place needs to sell it too. The only person running it is his wife, his mother, and his dad died a couple months ago. And it's costing him to run it. And so he's at the point that he needs to sell it. And that's, he really needs somewhat of an answer to be honest, so I can start working towards it. But I understand, we got to discuss it first.
Is it funding an issue, Bill? Isn't funding an issue?
Is funding an issue? Well, if the folks come forward that say that they help, you don't know.
Pledges don't pay bills.
That's right, and I know that. That's what I'm saying, but I can't go to them and say, I have a place and we're ready to go, and it passed the review board, and then come to find out without having that, I can't go to them and tell them how much money it's going to cost, or even talk with the owner that much about it. I got a general idea what he wants for it, and we've talked in generalities, and so that's why I come to you first before I've already talked to a lot of funders, but they need to know if we got a place. So that's it.
Have you,
I don't know, if I'm putting the horse before the cart, the cart before the horse. I don't know if I'm putting them sideways.
Okay.
But I do know that I can't get anybody to come on board if I don't have a place to sell to.
You do know that we need a detox center in this community as well.
Well, that was a discussion that was had, and I absolutely do know that. Chief Hanley and I talk about it on a regular basis. I've known Chief a long time. I've known you a long time. And as I had said one time before, sitting in front of you guys, I plan on coming and seeing you again, trying to get that added to it. But right now, with the way the zoning is, it'd be easier for us to just go ahead and start the place. There's plenty of room to do a detox center in it. That was one of our first preliminary plans to add that in, but we took it out in the narrative.
Why did you take it out, Bill?
The discussion was that it may not pass with you guys if that was still involved with it. And now, if that's not true, all I can do is write down detox center in my narrative, and it'd be exactly what I was going to ask you for.
It was my recommendation to just start with a group home, but if you feel like approving a detox center, then...
Chief Hanley really wants it. When I called him and told him that I was taking it out, he said he wasn't going to put his heels in the dirt, but you know, he'd love to see us have one there. And I would work with that would be through working with Porter Hospital. That wouldn't, you know what I mean? You know, have you ever heard of Act One up in Burlington? Anybody? Act One is located just in a small location right past the Turning Point Center up there. And I think they can go up to like 7 people, but they keep them up to 4 or 5 days, and they do what they call a bridge program. And with that, they bridge them over to a treatment facility if they want to go to it. But really, I'm a retired paramedic, and I've seen people where they detox themselves and they die. You know, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. I've seen it, especially with alcohol. Alcohol, people will die from having seizures, heart attacks, and aspiration. You know, and a person when I get a young person coming talking to me and they're ready to go get the treatment, I am very adamant about them not going and detoxing themselves. I tell them they need to do it with medical help, so they can be put on, you know, like on Valium or Ativan or something to control the seizures or whatever, especially if they've been drinking.
Part of that Act One program is if we bring someone there, and all that person walks in and just says to the admitting person, you know, I don't think I want to be here, we have to turn around and take them to the correctional center. That's not the way a program is supposed to work.
Well, see,
we're bringing that person there because he needs help.
Well, I agree with you, but you can't force somebody to do it. I know they need help.
They go to jail.
Well, down south, you could do that. You know, you got the Bakers and Myers Act you can use.
Yeah.
But up here, there's no such thing. So I understand your feelings on that, because I've had to use those. The police officers help me with that, because a person needs to be detoxed and they need to be done properly.
Yes.
And, you know, all you can do here, right now, they go to the emergency room. And they would still go to the emergency room to get released to the detox center.
Right.
They'd be given their own prescription of Valium or Ativan, whatever the doctor, and we would have a person that would be trained in how to work with a person, but they'd be under the supervision of, you know, somebody at the hospital, the way it would work out. And that's how they do it at Howard Center's detox.
Mr.
But you're
Brown?
right.
Have you reviewed the uses that are allowed in this district, the protected highway? Did you go through the list?
No, I have talked with Jen, and she said this is the one that would probably work.
Can you,
What's the one? What's the one?
Huh?
What is
Communal housing or whatever? What was the word, Jennifer? What were we just say, the name of it, community housing, or, I mean,
The group home
Group home.
definition is that.
yeah.
can you explain to us why you think this operation falls within a definition of a group home, and also why you think a group home is permitted in the protected highway district?
The reason why I feel it's a group home is because of the fact that it's communal living. There'll be up to 8 people living there in the program. And then there'll be also, they cook together, they have their own, they'll have showers in the room since it's a hotel, but normally in a residence, they have a couple bathrooms that they would share. They also, they would sit together, they have their own meeting space or congregation space. And I also I sent along with some of the requirements of GNAR, which is what we would be following. You know, there's strict guidelines of, you know, visitors and everything else.
I don't mean to interrupt. I did
no,
review
no.
all those guidelines. I'm wondering what major life activity, drug addiction or alcoholism, limits, given that that's part of the definition of a group home.
What gave it, I kind of don't understand the question. Maybe,
Well, a group home is to serve people who have a handicap or a disability. And a handicap or a disability is something that limits a major life activity.
and that would be drugs and alcohol.
Well, in what way does it limit a major life activity?
Well, first, they can't find jobs or get jobs because they're in recovery, newly in recovery. That's up to 4 to 6 months. That's the reason why the length of stay is not a lifetime, years. It's the whole idea is to get them to the organizations that can get them housing, so that they can get training and get jobs.
That definition we spent so much time studying. I know that you've looked it over.
Yeah, I know.
Jen, if I could just get something cleared for me. As it stands now, none of the uses in the protected highway district would allow this. Is that correct? That we have?
Right, but there is an exemption under state law
Okay.
in our regulations in section 739.
Okay, and that exemption is what you've outlined here? Okay. For 8 people, 8 or fewer people. And for it to qualify as a group home, it has to be under state licensing and registration?
According to that definition. And so what Mr. Brim has told you is that there isn't state licensing or registration for these types of homes, but he would be GNAR affiliated, which is similar.
There would be we would be a member of GNAR, which is not a requirement. We're trying to do something that the state hasn't passed it yet. It's still in legislation. But even if they pass it, it's going to be on each person's, if they want to join. It's very cheap to join. It's only a few dollars per bed a year, The whole idea is to have a oversight on all group homes in the state, not necessarily just ours.
Okay. And back to where it says this exemption is for any zone that allows single-family dwellings.
Right.
And the PhD does not allow single-family dwellings.
Right.
So that sort of,
But it does refer to the state statute 24 VSA, section 4412.
yep.
I emailed that out earlier. And that language is a little bit more strongly worded. And we are supposed to defer to the state on that type of thing.
One of the things, Bill, is, we just lost Maple Leaf.
I did not print that.
Valley Vista just opened their doors just recently in Virginia.
Yeah, but that's for females only.
Females only, and it's a treatment facility. It's not a place for somebody, after they get out of Valley Vista, they should be going to a recovery home.
Right.
That's a treatment facility.
There are recovery facilities in the state, just not in Addison County.
Yes, sir.
So right now, those that might be on,
Oxford House, have you ever heard of Oxford House?
I have not, I'm sorry, but
That's up in Burlington. They have a couple of them.
So,
Then there's there's an organization called V4, which is Vermont Foundation of Recovery. They're an organization that are going around the state and buying homes or leasing homes from people and opening them up as recovery homes. I work with these folks, and in that group that we're trying to get the GNAR done. We're working on the application right now. But I still think even, they're great guys that are running it, but I still think it needs a managerial oversight process so that you don't get what I talked about from the very beginning, was, the stigma attached to addiction and alcohol and drugs. Because it's going to be very strong. If you mess up, if you go and if somebody's taking drugs or it's caught, they're going to be asked to leave. That's all there is to it, And
Well, one of the things I think we're going to have to consider is whether we can actually allow something like this in an area that doesn't allow for new residential development. So in other words, if the turning point, if Greystoke was a 10-bedroom house that had been there for however long, I'm not sure we'd have a problem. The problem is that possibly that the regulations might not permit this.
Well, I'm not sure of what your regulations are, but my concern is, that's what I tried to explain, maybe not very well, is yes.
Well, that's why we'll have to talk about it.
Yeah,
because
keep it
we
out
think,
of neighborhood and or
right,
something like that.
and I agree with you. And as Kevin said earlier, I think we all would like to see this happen, but we have to figure out if there's a way. And if there is a way, and we say, yes, you can do this, that doesn't mean that later on someone couldn't come back to you and say, wait a minute, I'm going to appeal the decision of the Development Review Board because you don't fall within this category and you don't comply with this and you don't comply with this. And then you'd be in the same situation as the owner of the motel now. You'd be trying to sell it.
And I don't want that to happen. I want, everything.
And you don't want to fight an appeal either. So
No,
we want
I
to
don't.
figure out the best advice we can give you.
That's the reason why I've been so vocal about it over the last few months, is I want everybody on board for it to happen. If they're not on board, then it just ain't gonna happen. You know what I mean? I think the community needs it, and I think you feel that it does too. So the thing is, we gotta make sure we get the right spot for it apparently, but I think that's a great spot. But that means, just because it's there doesn't mean it's right in the zoning, and I understand that completely.
So Kevin, did you want to hear the state language from which
Yes.
our
Yes.
local level language was derived? So 24 VSA section 4412, that's the exemption for group homes under state law, says a residential care home or group home to be operated under state licensing or registration, serving not more than 8 persons who have a disability as defined by 9 VSA 4501, shall be considered by right to constitute a permitted single-family residential use of property, except that you can't be 1,000 feet from another one. I paraphrased the end there, but so I think we have to think about what that means. Shall be considered by right to constitute a permitted single-family residential use.
So would we assume that would say that what the state is saying, that this a group home must be allowed in every zone?
I think that's for you guys to debate. I don't want to tell you how to think.
That's one way of reading it.
Yep.
Or
That
you
is one
could
way of
read
reading
it
it.
to say, or you could read it to say that a group home qualifies as a permitted single-family residence.
Well, currently it does. Started home.
Right, exactly. But a single-family residence can't be everywhere under Middlebury's rules.
Correct.
So that's what we have to wrestle with, maybe.
Well, Bill, we've had an alcohol problem in this community a lot longer than we had a drug problem. And if you think that I'm going to let an opportunity to not put in a detox center, I got news for you. Because right now, that is a need.
I know that.
It's a
Chief.
great need. And so whether it's 6 other beds and 2 beds for detox, I don't know. But I just think that we have forgot about the old problems. The old problems still exist. We're still trucking people to Marble Valley, and we shouldn't be.
I agree with you. And if you read, this is the one I wrote first, and it says detox in it. I took it
haven't
out.
seen that.
No, you didn't. The one I gave to you was this one here,
Yep.
which is a 2-page. The reason being, we agreed that it would pass, and I would come back and put a detox center, ask for a variance, put a detox center on. This end of the way the building's built would be perfect, one end of it for 2 beds, 3 beds, as a detox center, and I was also gonna come back to you later and close off the whole front. I'd have to get sprinkler in it, because I've talked to the fire marshal already, and plus I already knew, anytime you change the means of egress, you have to put a sprinkler system in. But that would be down the road a little bit, and that way there's no interest from the parking lot except for one main entrance. That would control the coming and going from it, and you don't have people hanging out front and stuff like that too.
On a different tack from the zoning aspects of this, will there be management 24 hours? From what I read here, you'd only have people there some of the time.
No, on this, I wrote that there's gonna be a person living there. That's,
There is?
yeah, that's a recovery coach or, counselor. That's what we do right now. We're a recovery coach. People come in and talk to me all the time. But that person wouldn't be there. Otherwise, there'd be somebody there, a volunteer or a staff member, the rest of the time. If this person, a person can't work 24 hours. But there will be people there staffing it.
And
so,
they'll be the people that can kind of monitor what's going on in the parking lot.
absolutely. I don't want anything in the parking lot, and I don't want anything in the backyard. Those are the things I'm trying to alleviate. I want it to look just like a hotel room, that nobody's, I don't want it to, if the property's gonna be used this way, one way or the other down the road. It's either gonna be used for DOC housing, because they're looking at, other people are looking at it for this, and I know that people have asked about it. That type of a motel anymore really isn't working in the state of Vermont. They're selling them all up and down Route 7, and people with housing issues are being put in them. So if you can kind of control what happens, that would be a lot nicer for the community. But regardless, people need a place to live. That's human. We've got to give them a place to live. But this is not going to be considered a long-term living arrangement for a person. It's going to be 4 to 6 months, a program, and they've got to get a job and go to meetings. They got to do this stuff, and they will be paying for it. The ones that can't pay for it, then money goes into like a scholarship fund, and we can help them with that. That way we keep the doors open, pay the electric and the overhead and stuff like that. Right now, I'm just working for funding to pay for the place. So I still have a lot of track work to do, but I had to come to you guys first.
And just to let some of you know that the Blue Spruce Motel has frequent visitors that are on bracelets from corrections. They're there every day. They're there weeks on end.
I talked to them.
So they're already using a motel for housing people that are on either house arrest or on bracelets.
Why is that relevant?
Well, I'm just saying that corrections could work with them, and they could put someone in their facility that could be on a bracelet.
I've already talked with Keith Talon about this. He's the district director for DOC, this area. He's very much on board with this. And they're already, they've put out an RFP for somebody to open a place up here in Addison. I didn't know that until he told me a couple days ago.
And we just signed a contract
Yeah.
for the bracelet system, so.
So they're already going to lease 2 to 3 beds so they can get their people out of the jail.
Right.
But the people have got to be in recovery. They can't. It's just not. We're not just taking people that are getting out of jail. They have to be a person that has a history of drug or alcohol abuse, and they have to be working on their recovery. Because that's what happens. They get out of jail, and automatically they go back to using again.
I got a couple of questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
GNAR, my understanding from your information is this is not something that is recognized by the state yet?
Not yet. We've written 2 legislative bills. One of them contains the NAR affiliate, which we call it VTAR, Vermont. Virginia already took the V. So, it's already gone to military and what's the other one that goes with military? Committee, I've already been and testified there.
Okay.
And it just hasn't, it may not make it past the January, it may go into the next year, so. But irregardless, we're gonna do it. And then, if other homes want to
Excuse
be
me,
affiliated.
just so I have it clear in my mind, when you say we're gonna do it, we're gonna do,
The
you're gonna
organization.
join NAR, or, okay. But there's no guarantee that the state's gonna recognize NAR
No, they may.
at this point in
At
time.
this point in time, we're trying
Okay.
to make it that way, since they don't have any oversight at all.
So my other question is unrelated to the previous question, is we've had some concern about some citizens of Middlebury that, that this piece of property, if permitted, will come off the tax, off the tax list, and it's like a $400,000 piece of property, and that, I would assume, is a considerable amount of money that comes off the tax dolls, and that means...
I agree with you, and I knew that it would possibly be questioned, but what we're doing is something to help the community, and I know you're a shire town, and everybody wants to do everything for nothing here, and, but to make something like this work, we've got to drop costs as best we can. As the Turning Point Center, as I wrote in the letter, is currently, we pay taxes, you're not, where we're located right now, we're not moving from there.
Yeah.
Where we're
Well, I
at.
want to focus on
This
this particular piece of property.
If I can, I would love to get it off the tax, not pay taxes on it, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because, and so I just wanted to be upfront about it. That's
No,
the
I
reason
think
why I wrote it.
I heard that, or it's something in there, in
Yeah,
your
that's the reason.
presentation or whatever, but...
So, Bill, if, say, DOC needed 4 beds, they're gonna pay you the going rate for those people that are on them.
It's on a grant form, they
That's
do
right.
like quarterly
Yep,
grants.
I'm quite familiar with that. So I guess, getting back to what Hugh was saying, when you start operating, and you're not operating at a for-profit, but it's an income.
That's the reason why I said the money that is over and above operating, we go
Right.
into a scholarship
Right.
for folks that can't afford it.
Right. Okay. So that's just wanted to emphasize that it's not money that goes into the coffer to help pay staff or the other stuff. It's all,
It's there to help other folks. That's what the whole idea behind it is. Some people can't afford it.
Other questions from the board?
Can I participate?
Sure.
The question's for Jen. Who do you go to when you have a question on 9 VSA 4501 definition?
And you want to see what it says?
No, I've got it right here.
Legal counsel, is that what you?
Yeah, do you call the,
our attorney.
our attorney or
Putnam.
the state's attorney?
Well, they're all online, so I can read them online. And then if I don't know how to interpret it, I call our attorney.
What does he know?
He gives you an
Right.
opinion.
Yeah, he gives an opinion.
That's why I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Pardon me?
That's why I'm keeping my trap shut and letting you guys discuss this amongst yourselves. I know what he thinks.
I think really the main issue we have to resolve is this one about residents, a single-family residence and a group home, and maybe we should have a deliberative session to talk about that.
But it's a by right use. That's pretty powerful if it's by right.
By right,
She's
but,
saying it's not.
I mean, does it mean by right, as Kevin said, anywhere, or does it mean by right in those areas of
That's why I asked
town?
a prior question to
Well,
Jen.
we have the option of asking for legal counsel if we want it,
Just 3 more.
to interpret that.
We can?
Well, I assume we can.
Yeah, sure we can.
Don't assume.
You get 2 lawyers in a room, you're not
Well,
going to
I
get
don't
anybody agree on
know,
anything.
but we will, I mean, our best, we have a town
Okay,
attorney,
okay.
and we have to rely on his
I know.
opinion when we aren't sure
I
ourselves.
know. Okay.
I think the VSA's definition is a little bit outdated too. Down at the bottom, they've got mental health, not drugs and alcohol. But if you go to the DSM-5 for mental health, it is considered alcohol and drug is considered a mental illness.
Oh, well, it says so right here.
Yeah.
It's in there.
I read it
Except, the only exception is if it constituted a direct threat to property or safety of others.
Who determines that?
Court, I guess. See it, you see it.
This might be a good one for deliberative session, you know, if you want to really
Okay.
hammer it out.
Any other questions at this point? Are there any comments from the public at this time? Yes.
Yeah, as Mr. Taylor said a little while ago, is about the Spruce. They have people there, like you said, with the ancient bracelets on, and their rent and everything to live there is being paid by the state under Section 8.
And voucher system.
I mean, they don't even have to come up with the money. So it's like, okay, why, and to answer your question earlier about why do we consider this like a group home, is because, number one, alcohol addiction and drug addiction, like Bill says, is a mental issue. And if we can curb that and assist people in getting back on the right track, that'd be a big plus,
I understand
I
that.
would think, you know.
Could I have your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Art Howard, I'm president of the Board of Directors of Turning Point Center.
I kind of, you know, I know the owner is really struggling, and I just, you know, I can't, all I can tell you, if it's not, you know, if it's not available, then we'll just have to find another house later. It's all like, you know, he can sell it to somebody, but he hasn't sold it, so.
Any other comments at this time from the public? It's the pleasure of the board at this point.
Well, I just
Anything
wanna-
else, Jen, from you?
Well, yeah, but I'd rather share it in deliberative session if that's your plan.
Sure. Well,
Okay.
I don't know.
I would just like to ask Bill one question.
Sure.
You know my feelings. Right now, that's currently not in your plan.
I'll put it in it.
Well, I think that's an important part of this puzzle. I think it's a big part of this puzzle.
It's a money saver too for the town.
And for me to support something like that, I need to know that we're taking care of a long existing problem in this community. And that is trucking drunks, college kids, to the correctional center and throwing them in a 4x6 cell until 8 o'clock in the morning. They blow an Alka-Seltzer and they blow zeros. They open the door and kick them out. That is not how we're supposed to treat human beings.
That's right.
So I'm just,
They do it at the emergency room too, chief.
yep, I know all about it, I know.
I get people, friends of mine that go there and they call me up and they're in such bad shape and they just put them outside the door.
Yep.
It's terrible. Never the way I treated people.
What's your pleasure?
I guess, Tony, you want to go into deliberative session? Is that what you
Is
want
there
to
a
do?
motion for that?
Oh,
I can't make it. I would, but I can't.
I move that the board go into deliberative session to discuss the issues raised by the testimony received and by the zoning regulations as we read them.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
yeah, I guess my question would be is, how, after we come out of deliberative session, are we gonna have an opinion for the applicant, or are we gonna wait and let Jen tell them what our discussion led to? I mean, I know this is just a preliminary, but I guess I
don't know if we'll have some sort of an answer. I don't know what.
Okay. I think in all fairness, they would like to know.
Yeah, I'm sure, yes,
What?
I understand that. But I can't tell you what we're gonna decide.
Okay.
I didn't expect to rush you or anything, but I'm just telling you the situation, you know. That's all.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. We'll go into deliberative session. which means everybody must leave the room except for the board and the staff. Okay, this is the DRB meeting for Monday, May 8th, and we are moving out of deliberative session. And we've had a good discussion about some complicated issues. It's the consensus of the board right now, without legal counsel, that this would not be allowed under the state exemption for a group home. If you want to continue the application, we would require it to be a planned unit development, which there are several things that you can talk with Jen about that would have to be met.
I won't do it. Tired of chasing you guys down for something like this.
I think you might be misunderstanding.
This
It's not
may be
that
a,
it-
yeah, go ahead, that's it.
It's not that it isn't a group home. It's that it's that there's no residential in this area. But we came up with a different approach that you might want to look into. It's not the group home thing, it's the residence thing. Not the residence of your people, but the house, you know, that we don't have houses in that area, right?
I'm not, I can tell you right now, this is it. I won't, this will be on, you guys can handle it. Whenever you start needing people to house people, you can decide who does it. I'm done with it. I've done this 2 or 3 times now for you, and I wanted to do it right for the town. And, you know, I'm not going to continue with it. It's on you, so it's on you guys now. So whatever you get, you get. And
I might add, Bill, I think, and I just hope that you're not interpreting this as not supporting the project. What we're saying to you is there's another avenue
and I
to
can't
reach
keep
the
going
same
down these
goal,
avenues, you know.
which is probably easier for us and easier for everyone. I would suggest that you take and sit down with Jennifer tomorrow and spend 10 minutes, and she will inform you on how we got to this decision, and I think you may find that a little more favorable than just taking it as a not support.
Well, you know, I agree, and you know, it's a hard decision. I don't blame you all for that. But the thing is you're going to get what you don't want. I promise you. You're going to get people that will come to you and want to open a home, 4 bedrooms in subdivisions that neighbors are not going to want.
Well, what we want is what you want, and that's why we want you to talk to Jen about this tomorrow. Because we've
been shot down. This is second time now.
Yeah.
Can I try to just restate what they told you? Because
Sure.
I might have said it a different way, maybe it'll just hit different. But, so, that group home exemption that we were shooting for said that group homes would be allowed everywhere that a single-family home was allowed. But when we look back at the table of uses, in that protected highway district, zoning district, single-family homes aren't allowed there. So that was kind of tripping us up. So, but then we thought about it more, and there's a planned unit development application. It's just a different section of the regulations where you can submit an application that looks a lot like this one, only the DRB has the power to allow uses that aren't normally allowed in that district.
Right.
So I think everyone here feels really good about a PUD application. It's just going to require like a master plan, and we might have to talk about creating some landscaping or some scenic views, or we'll just have to be a little bit more creative in that application, but there is a mechanism, just the group home exemption wasn't the way to do it.
And I understand that completely, and I'll talk to you about it, but I don't know how much longer this piece of property is going to be available, and so I don't know if I want to go to 6 months of trying to get this done, and this poor guy, he wants to sell it, so that's just the way it is, and I don't have the money to buy it, you know, we only keep $30,000 extra in our budget. You know, we run off a budget of $150,000. We can't afford it, so it's got to be a community effort.
Well, and I agree with you, Bill, and like I said, I think you're reading into the board that we're not supporting this.
That's not, I understand you do want it.
You do, and this PUD is a good option for you to sit down with Jen and try and make
I'll
it
try
work.
it. I'll come by and talk
We
to you
can
tomorrow.
work with you if we do it our way, and we're working with you, not
Okay.
against you, so.
Well, what I'll do then is I will talk to the owner, because he's expecting to call him tomorrow, and I'll tell him this is the direction I want to go. I'll come and talk to Jen and see if there's something, and see just how long it's going to take. And then I will talk to the people that were saying that they might give me some money and see if they're still willing to work that way.
This action is not a denial of your application.
Okay. Just trying to
It's
change it.
directing you to a different avenue to try and accomplish the same goal.
Right.
But it is still time consuming. I mean, we're
Yes,
talking at
yeah,
least,
and we understand
we're
that.
talking at least 3 months, probably,
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
it'd be 3 months before we can meet again? Is that what you're saying?
before you'd have
an answer.
an approval. I mean, at least 3.
I don't know. But I'm gonna let the guy know, because I know what he's gonna say. He said,
Yeah.
I don't even want, see, he's already told me that he's lost business because of the stuff I put in the paper. People think it's closed and all that. The students' families, last in April, they were telling their families that that hotel was closed, or, so, you know, he called me last week and a half ago, and told me that. And I said, let me finish, I got a meeting coming up. And so, you know, I'm just telling you, you know, everything I've told you has been, you know, from my heart. I'm not, and I know you got rules you gotta follow too. And so,
Okay. I think this is an important enough issue.
Yeah.
It's not gonna go away. And I think it would be good for you, and maybe even some of us,
And your board members.
and to make an appeal to the Middlebury Planning Commission to consider this use in several zones. And the sooner that they could start working on that, and to see if they can come up with some zones that it would be perfect for it. I think the sooner that information gets to the Planning Commission, that they could begin to think about this issue and how important it is.
yeah. I talked with Jen, I told her I'd like to be on the planning commission later on, because I know these changes need to happen.
Well, they're making changes as we, you know, now, so
Yeah.
if
Okay.
somebody could,
We'll go that route. I'll come visit you probably tomorrow
Please.
afternoon.
Please, yeah.
But I'll let the owner know tomorrow morning, because he told me he wanted to know after this meeting, so,
But you can tell them it was not denied,
okay, yeah, I will,
because it clearly is not denied.
right.
This board, and I have to say, this board worked very hard to
I know
try
you
and
did. You
make
were-
this happen.
You didn't just throw it out there. I understood. You talked about it, and it's,
So,
you know, that's respectful. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I just want the same thing that you, hopefully you want, is that to remove the stigma of what's going on, and to understand and realize that we do have issues in the community, in Addison County, not just here.
Absolutely.
So, but thank you for your time, and I will meet up with you tomorrow on it. Okay?
thank you. Next item, other business. Jen?
So I wrote up the decision for the farmer's market, and there was just one change that I made, and I just want to see how the board feels about, well, one thing I added. So it seemed like it was hard to know how many visitors they were going to get, and how many parking spaces there were going to be. And if anything, on busy days, they showed fewer parking spaces. And so we know that they're gonna go on the east side of Exchange Street, and I've got a condition in there about them putting no parking on the west side of Exchange Street. But I thought it might be nice to just make it a 2-year approval. And then after 2 years, well, I'm sorry, for the approval to tell me to issue them a permit with a 2-year lifespan. And then after that permit expired in 2 years, they'd have to come back to me for a new permit. And then I could use my discretion about whether or not to send it back to the board for an amended decision. Does that sound like a good way to deal with the unknowns there?
Yes.
Yes.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's good for 2 years?
Yes. Well,
Why
the
would you
decision
even
will,
go 2 years? I
well, the
guess?
decision will be good, but forever, but the zoning permit will be good for 2
You
years.
gotta have a track record.
I know, but if we have if I envision a parking issue down there, which we could have, you may want to wait 2 years to
1 year?
revisit the problem.
How about 1 year?
I would try 1 year and see how it flies,
I like that better.
because you will have some issues.
Okay,
Can you do that?
definitely, if you don't mind coming in tomorrow.
No, I don't mind.
We had it printed
No,
out, but we
No,
couldn't
but
print
can we issue a permit for 1 year?
Yeah, definitely. I do it with the Christmas tree guy every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want me in here tomorrow?
They did have the no parking out there this weekend, Saturday,
Oh, that's good.
on the west side.
Oh, that's right, they started already.
Yeah.
Right.
Are there many people there?
Not when
Are you okay with Kevin?
I mean, they didn't have a lot of it.
Well, there's not a lot of vendors there yet, either.
Okay.
Actually, if you want to come in, maybe you should wait for Victor to call you, because we have to finish that other one too,
Okay,
Rouse.
okay. I'll wait for a phone call then.
And then, when I was upstairs, did you guys ask him about use value appraisal and current use? Is that property enrolled in current use still? Did you have a chance to ask Eric Hyder?
The hydrant?
Yeah.
No, well, I didn't, we didn't.
Oh, we
ask.
knew that it was still enrolled, but we were wondering where they were gonna continue.
Yeah, BioFinder says it's still enrolled. I was going to ask him.
Oh, I didn't realize that was an open question.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was in our packet.
Yep, I just didn't get back soon enough to collect my thoughts and ask that question, so.
Any other business?
May 22nd, we do have a hearing, just to let you know.
May 22nd.
Yep.
I will be out of the country,
Be employed again.
living under a new name.
But you're paying.
Okay, nothing else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
David,
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
remember,